President Donald Trump edged closer to defying the power of the U.S. Congress by declaring a national emergency in an attempt to obtain funding for a U.S.-Mexico border wall. However, the move would likely draw a court challenge from Democrats. Trump said at a White House event that he might declare such an emergency because it did not appear that Democrats in Congress were moving towards a deal that would provide the money to help fund the wall. Under the U.S. Constitution, Congress holds a national purse strings and approves major expenditures of taxpayer funds. U.S. Border Patrol officers performed a series of drills near its international border with Mexico as thousands of Central American migrants crossed over land seeking asylum in the U.S. Military officers were seen wearing riot gear and using gas near Mexican border city. At the Tijuana crossing point, officers laid out barbed wires as part of another security operation. Trump has hardened his stance on immigration and specifically against the caravan of migrants. He has sought to suspend the granting of asylum to migrants who cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. Ramping up pressure to oust Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence said the time for dialogue has ended and all options were on the table. Pence was addressing a campaign-style rally in Florida when he made the comments. He added that the time had come for Maduro's dictatorship to end once and for all. The U.S. government has recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president and has called for other countries to do so as well. Spain's ambassador to Venezuela, Jesus Silva, met with representatives of the Spanish community living in the South American country. Silva offered them help and support as relations between the two countries has strained after EU's recognition of Guaido as the interim president. Meeting was held just one day after Venezuela briefly detained and freed 3 journalists, including one Spaniard working for Spanish media. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif chided the U.S. for saying it may leave an arms treaty with Russia. Zarif took to Twitter, saying any deal with the U.S. was not worth the ink. Zarif's comment comes after U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the U.S. would suspend compliance with the intermediate-range nuclear forces treaty with Russia. Palestinians clash with Israeli forces in the West Bank village of Al-Mughayr. Israeli soldiers fired tear gas and stun grenades at Palestinians who hurled stones at them. According to the Red Crescent, live bullets were fired at the protesters, causing 15 injuries. Last week, a 38-year-old man was shot and killed by Israeli settlers at the village. Peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians broke down in 2014, and a bid to restart negotiations has so far shown little progress. Brazil dam burst victims are remembered by emergency workers in a somber memorial service, and now rose petals were showered from helicopters onto that mine that burst. More than 100 people had died in the disaster as workers continue to dig for bodies in the thick mud and toxic waste that has sparked safety concerns. The European Commission said that Britons would be exempted from visa requirements for short visits to the EU after Brexit, provided that reciprocal arrangements were made for EU citizens. A short stay is defined as up to 90 days within any 180-day period. All non-EU countries benefiting from visa-free travel have since October been subjected to the regulations by which travelers are pre-screened before they arrive in Europe, and those deemed dangerous could be denied entry. A newborn baby girl was found in a shopping bag in a London park on Thursday, and the police are now appealing for the child's mother to come forward. Unofficially named Roman by hospital staff, the baby was found by a dog walker in a park on Roman Road on one of the coldest nights of the year. Roman's condition is stable and she's being cared for at an East London hospital. Uganda seized a contraband shipment of ivory and which it says is the largest the country has ever taken. The market value of the shipment is estimated at more than $8 million. The Ugandan Revenue Authority said the haul originated in the neighborhood of Democratic Republic of Congo and passed through South Sudan before entering Uganda. Ugandan authorities started monitoring the cargo from the border while it was on its way to the capital on January 24th. Police in Cape Verde seized nearly 10 tons of cocaine from a Russian vessel transiting through port. Now, this is the largest single drug seizure in the country's history. The drugs were busted overnight after the ship, which was traveling to Morocco from South America, docked in a port following the death of a crew member. Police have seized 9.5 tons of cocaine and arrested 11 Russian nationals. With surge in attacks by Boko Haram in northeast Nigeria, chaos prevails in the region even as Feb 16 presidential election nears. The UN states that the tens of thousands of people have fled their homes since December in a region already sheltering 1.8 million displaced people. Escalation in violence will be a challenge for President Muhammadu Buhari as he seeks a second successive 4-year term. Supporters of former Ivory Coast leader Laurent Gbagbo celebrated decisions by the International Criminal Court judges to release him from detention. Singing Ivory Coast national anthem outside the courthouse and waving the country's flag, supporters expressed their joy at the news of the release. A small group of supporters later headed towards the prison where the former president had been detained. Now, Gbagbo, who ruled Ivory Coast from 2000 to 2011, has spent 7 years in custody in The Hague. Heavy snowfall in Geneva has resulted in buildings and roads being covered in snow. The UN headquarters was no exception. Last year, massive snowfalls caused the airport to close for a few hours, 2 days in a row. The temperatures touched 0 degrees Celsius in the city, prompting Swiss Weather Office to issue an orange weather warning for moderate snowfall and icy roads. Heavy snowfall has caused disruptions for commuters across the UK as drivers abandoned cars and airports have been forced to close runways. Bristol and Bournemouth airports were forced to close runways while Newquay Airport had been closed completely. Dozens of motorists had abandoned their vehicles overnight on the A30 dual carriageway, which has disrupted efforts to clear the road. Hundreds of environmentalists took to the streets of Munich supporting the cause of protection of bees. Protesters dressed in bee costumes gathered in the Bavarian capital singing "Give Bees a Chance" to call attention to the use of pesticides in agriculture. In February 2018, Europe's food safety watchdog said wild bees and honeybees were put at risk by certain kinds of pesticides. Turkey's luxury housing project in the town of Mudurnu has won the reprieve from bankruptcy as creditors voted to allow a construction company to complete work on the project. Work at the resort was halted last year before all 732 castles were completed and the company was declared bankrupt. Delays in obtaining construction permits pushed up building costs as the falling lira drove up the prices of building materials. But now majority of creditors of the firm have voted to continue building the complex, housing hundreds of Disney-style castles. A themed light show at the headquarters of China Media Group is becoming a new attraction as preparations are underway for upcoming Spring Festival. The light show is scheduled to last till February 10th and is themed to praise China and convey best wishes ahead of China's Lunar New Year. A red silk ribbon representing traditional Chinese elements takes a key position throughout the entire show. This year, China Media Group further upgraded the light show projection technology from that of last year, using light and laser to render an effect. A lantern show has been going on in South China's Guangdong city since Thursday as celebrations for the upcoming Spring Festival gather steam. A lantern show, which will run through February 28th, left many locals and tourists amazed with a spectacular display of lanterns. Show is featuring 80 sets of large and medium-sized lanterns with 1,200 folk lanterns. On to India now. Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal makes big announcements while presenting government's last budget before 2019 Lok Sabha elections. No income tax up to 5 lakh rupees, 6,000 per annum to farmers with land holdings of less than 2 hectares, and a mega pension scheme for the unorganized working sector are among the big takeaways announced. Reaction came pouring in from various quarters as the government presented the budget. Congress chief Rahul Gandhi targeted the centre over its announcement to provide 6,000 per year to the farmers. Congress chief tweeted saying that giving a 17 rupee a day to farmers was an insult to them. Former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram termed the budget as account for votes instead of vote on account. Meanwhile, responding to the criticism, Union Minister Arun Jaitley asked the opposition not to shed crocodile tears for the farmers.